licensed esthetician here, and I'm going to be showing you how to achieve a brow lamination on a client. So these first couple clips are just of me cleansing and preparing the skin. I like to do a little bit of a brow wax, a little cleanup, so that we can achieve the most symmetrical brow as possible. We don't want to go overboard with the waxing process. We definitely need to stay pretty conservative, because the whole idea of brow lamination is to expand the natural brow using the brow hairs themselves to give us a more even, fuller, larger brow per se, using perming and neutralizing solutions to make sure that everything is nice and full. So you may already know how to wax the brows, but I prepared the skin with a alcohol-based cleanser in order to cut through any oil and dirt that they may have accumulated throughout the day from being outside, or any makeup products that they may have that will hinder the wax from sticking. And then I use a soft wax and paper strips to remove hair from the center and underneath both arches. In this client's case, I really didn't want to remove any hair above the brow because I wanted to utilize as many little hairs as I could possibly find to give her as full of a brow as possible. And cleaning up underneath the arches and in the center is going to really help us to create that symmetrical brow that we are looking for. Once we've been pretty conservative in waxing any of the areas where we need to remove a bulk of the hair, I'm going to go back in with some precision tweezers to remove any excess single hairs that are distracting from a perfect symmetrical shape as far as we can get close to that as possible. And I'm still being very cautious with how close I get to the brow. I don't want to take too much off. It's very easy to get carried away. Almost anyone who does brows will tell you that. So you're definitely going to want to stay about 1 millimeter or 2 away from the natural brow, just to make sure that she has a really nice clean underline and that you're not taking too much away from that general shape. So after I have gone in and perfectly cleaned up any little stray hairs that I want to remove, I'm actually going to start the perming process. So this first step is actually optional. Some artists choose not to do this first step, but I tend to like it for anyone who has a lot of hair, pretty much like really coarse, unruly, downward growing hair. If I really need it to stay in a very perfect shape and stay that way through the entire perming and neutralizing portion of the treatment, I want to make sure that I'm actually gluing them into place, and I'm using an extremely thin amount of glue here. We like to use the Lamination Lash Lift and Perming Solutions here in our office. It's definitely safe for the skin, for the brows, definitely wonderful for brow lamination treatments, and it has the water-based glue that we use to actually perm lashes on a lash rod. So I use a little bit of that glue to lay down the brows exactly where I want them. Once you finish that gluing process, we're going to jump right into the lamination. So this is that first perming step. We like to use these single one-time use packets from Lamination, which really help to have a fresh, non-oxidized product every single time that you have a new client, so that you never have to worry about ineffectiveness of the chemical. So this is just that first perming solution, and we are generously going to apply that to each and every little brow hair, but you can see that the layer I'm applying is fairly thin. I'm using almost the entire package, but I'm making sure to efficiently kind of place it all over each and every brow hair and really coat them from top to bottom. Now, it's super important that you place a saran wrap strip over top of those brows, and you are going to let them perm for about 5 to 7 minutes and then remove the saran wrap like I'm doing now. The lifting time, the time that you let that sit, is really based on the coarseness of their hair. If they have extremely thin brow hair, I would highly suggest letting it perm for less time. You definitely would rather have to add more perm than to take away. It's a lot more difficult to reverse a chemical process than it is to add a little bit more. So once I've finished that perming process and I've removed that lamination, I'm going to actually remove the lifting solution off of the brows. You can gently brush them back into place if you've started to lose some of your shape with a spoolie. And what this is going to allow us to do is now prepare for this neutralizing step. You don't want to layer the neutralizer right over a full layer of perming solution, because you will just start to really mess up the chemical process and the neutralizer won't be able to penetrate and reach the hairs, as well as really the longer the lifting solution stays, the more chemical processing that's going to occur. So if you don't want them to continue perming, you will not want to leave any lifting solution on the brow if you can help it. So just as I did in the first lifting step, I'm going to apply this neutralizing cream, and this is basically like a pH balancer that's going to stop the chemical process. And this is super important because over perming is definitely a thing. We do not want to over process the brows. We don't want to cause them to become thin or brittle. So I did apply the lamination one more time, just saran wrap, and we let that sit for a full just another 5 to 7 minutes. You don't want to let it sit any longer than that. Again, it's still a chemical agent. We don't want to over process the hair by any means. And now I'm removing it really nice and gently with a clean, lint-free cotton round. And now that I've actually completely finished the brow lamination process, I'm going to remove it with water. This is going to ensure that I've removed all of the neutralizer and the lifting cream from the brows. I like to run it in and out of the brows, really making sure I've gotten everything. And it also really helps to remove any remnants of that water-based glue we applied at the beginning. Now I'm just placing the hairs exactly where I want them one more time, but you'll start to really see that the client's brow hair has become way more malleable and agreeable to wherever you want to put it. So it's not going to be really begging to face downwards by any means. It's going to be a lot easier to pull in place. So now you have the brow lamination all complete. And a couple of frequently asked questions that you should know as your technician are, how long does this last? It can last about 6 to 8 weeks because that's when the hair has fully grown out and replaced itself. And then if you would like to put a tint over top of this, you can actually only apply henna due to regular tinting being a little bit too heavy of a chemical process on top of permed brows. So I hope that you enjoyed the video, and we can't wait to see what results you have with your clients. Thanks so much.